2 years ago, I bought a stunning glass kettle. 1 week later, I tapped it lightly against the sink while washing it. It shattered instantly, leaving sharp shards mixed with wet coffee grounds everywhere. Standing in the appliance aisle the next day, staring at rows of glass and stainless steel kettles, I realized you cannot just buy on looks alone. The wrong choice means daily frustration or a literal kitchen hazard. Let me explain the hidden realities of both materials so you avoid my expensive mistake. By the end, the winner will be obvious. The aesthetic trap and glass kettles. People buy glass kettles with their eyes. You see them in high-end kitchen boutiques or coffee shop setups, and they look absolutely brilliant. There is something fundamentally captivating about watching water come to a rolling boil right on your counter. It feels natural and organic. You get absolute visibility from across the room. You always know exactly how much water you have left for your morning pour over coffee or your afternoon tea without having to guess or pick the unit up. Glass is a remarkably honest material. It hides absolutely nothing from you or your guests. If you live in an area with even slightly hard water, your beautiful clear kettle is going to turn into a cloudy mess of calcium deposits within a single week. Every single smudge from your fingers shows up clearly. Every dried water droplet leaves a distinct mark. You buy a glass kettle thinking it will elevate your kitchen counter, but you end up taking on a part-time job just keeping the glass wiped down. And then there's the fragility factor you have to consider. Glass kettles use borosilicate glass to handle the massive temperature swings of boiling water. That material is tough, but it is still fundamentally glass. One slip while you're filling it at the kitchen sink, or one accidental knock with a heavy ceramic coffee mug, and your morning routine is completely over. You're suddenly sweeping up a dangerous mess on the floor instead of sitting down to drink your tea. Stainless steel and the utility mindset. Now, look at the other side of the appliance aisle. Stainless steel kettles are the absolute standard in professional kitchens and busy homes for a very simple reason. They survive everything you throw at them. You can use them heavily, abuse them accidentally, and basically ignore them. If you drop a solid steel kettle on a tile floor, you might get a dent. You just pick it up, fill it with water, and keep using it like nothing happened. Stainless steel brings a completely different energy to your countertop space. It looks purposeful, industrial, and completely reliable. It blends in perfectly with your fridge and your oven. But this massive utility comes with a major blind spot. Literally, the biggest problem with a solid steel kettle is that you cannot easily see inside it. You're constantly picking it up and giving it a little shake to guess if you have enough water for 2 cups or just 1. Manufacturers try to fix this blind spot by adding water-level windows made of plastic or acrylic. Let me explain why that is a massive problem. Every time a company cuts a hole in a perfectly good steel vessel to add a plastic window, they create a structural weakness. You create a vulnerable place for leaks to start after a year of daily expansion and contraction. Plus, if you bought steel specifically to avoid boiling your water in plastic, that little viewing window completely defeats the entire purpose of your purchase. Thermal dynamics in your kitchen. We need to talk about what happens after the water actually reaches a boil. Heat retention is incredibly important if you're the kind of person who boils water, gets distracted by a phone call, and remembers you want a tea 20 minutes later. Glass is a terrible insulator by its very nature. The moment the heating element turns off at the base, the boiling water inside a glass kettle starts shedding heat directly into your ambient kitchen air. It cools down incredibly fast. If you need a second cup of coffee half an hour later, you're going to have to boil that water all over again. That process wastes your time and wastes electricity every single morning. Stainless steel completely changes this thermal equation. Many high-quality steel kettles use a double-wall construction method. They have an inner layer of steel, a layer of air or vacuum insulation in the middle, and an outer layer of steel or plastic. This acts exactly like your favorite travel thermos. The water stays piping hot for hours after the switch clicks off. You boil it once, and you literally have hot water on standby all morning long. This kind of thermal efficiency makes a massive difference in how you actually experience your kitchen. The daily maintenance reality. Maintenance is where the real division between these two materials happens in everyday life. We already established that glass forces you to clean it constantly because you can see the scale buildup forming in real time. But let us look much closer at stainless steel. Steel is very forgiving on the outside. A quick wipe down with a damp microfiber cloth and it looks perfectly fine again. Fingerprints just blend right into the brushed metal finish. But inside the chamber, steel hides a very dirty secret. Because you cannot easily see the bottom of a tall steel kettle, calcium and limescale build up in the dark. You might easily go months without realizing the heating element is caked in a thick white crust. This hidden buildup does not just look gross when you finally peek inside. It actually ruins the heating efficiency of the kettle entirely. The mineral scale acts as a thick blanket of insulation between the heating element and your water. Your kettle takes significantly longer to boil and works much harder to do it. With glass, the visual guilt forces you to decale regularly. With steel, out of sight means out of mind, until your water starts tasting chalky and flat. You have to actively remember to shine a flashlight down there and clean it out with vinegar every few weeks. Safety concerns you probably ignored. We really need to talk about physical safety, especially if you have children, pets, or just a chaotic household. Boiling water is dangerous enough on its own, but the vessel holding it matters just as much as the liquid inside. A single wall glass kettle gets exactly as hot as the boiling water inside it. Touching the outside of the glass will instantly burn your skin. If you reach blindly across the counter and brush your bare arm against it, you will get a serious injury. There is absolutely no insulation protecting you from that 212-degree surface. This is exactly where double-walled stainless steel pulls massively ahead of the competition. Because of that insulating gap we talked about earlier, the outside of a good steel kettle stays completely cool to the touch. It stays cool even while the water inside is literally bubbling violently. You can wrap both hands around the outside of the kettle right after it boils and feel nothing but a gentle, pleasant warmth. If you have a busy household where things get bumped and grabbed constantly, a cool touch steel kettle is not just a nice convenience. It is a mandatory safety feature you should not skip. Flavor purity and the plastic problem. If you consider yourself a coffee enthusiast or a dedicated tea drinker, the taste of the water is your entire foundation. You simply cannot make great coffee with bad tasting water. Glass is completely inert. It does not react chemically with anything you put in it. It does not absorb kitchen odors, and it certainly does not leach anything strange into your drinking water. When you boil clean water in a glass kettle, you get pure water out. That is a massive selling point for purists who want to taste the delicate notes in an expensive green tea. Stainless steel is also generally excellent for flavor, but there are definitely exceptions to the rule. Low-quality steel can absolutely impart a strange metallic taste to your water, especially during the first few weeks of heavy use. You often have to boil and dump several full batches of water just to break the metal in properly. But here is the detail most buyers miss entirely when shopping. The lid. You could buy the most beautiful glass or premium steel kettle in the world. But if the underside of the lid is lined with cheap plastic, that hot steam is hitting the plastic and condensing right back into your drink. When you're making your final choice, you have to look at every single surface the hot water and steam will actually touch. You want a metal or solid glass inner lid, no matter which body material you eventually choose. The weight and ergonomics. You also have to think about what it feels like to actually lift and use the thing every morning. Weight plays a huge role in how comfortable a kettle is, especially when you're trying to execute a slow and controlled pour over your coffee grounds. Glass is a remarkably heavy material on its own. When you fill a large glass kettle completely to the maximum line, it becomes a serious weight in your hand. The balance is often very bottom-heavy. This requires a strong grip and decent wrist strength just to manage a smooth, steady pour into a small cup. If you have mobility issues, arthritis, Or just weak wrists, a full glass kettle can feel like an unwanted dumbbell workout first thing in the morning. Stainless steel is significantly lighter by volume. A standard steel kettle is easy to maneuver, easy to tilt accurately, and much easier to control overall. The metal material itself provides immense structural strength without the need for thick, heavy walls. This means the overall weight you are lifting is almost entirely just the water inside it. When you're groggy at 6 in the morning and just want caffeine, a lighter and better balanced tool simply makes your life much easier. The final verdict. You have to choose what fits your actual lifestyle. If you want a visually striking statement piece, you love the daily ritual of watching the water boil, and you absolutely refuse to compromise on flavor purity, glass is your choice. Just be prepared to handle it like a delicate instrument and clean it constantly to maintain that aesthetic. But if you want a reliable, tough tool that you do not have to think about, steel wins. It holds heat significantly longer, it easily survives being dropped on the floor, and it keeps your hands safe from accidental burns. Yes, you have to guess how much water is inside, and you have to set a calendar reminder to actually decal it. But for most smart buyers, the sheer durability and thermal efficiency makes stainless steel the superior long-term investment for a functioning kitchen. Choose the material that fits how you actually live, not just how you want your counter to look.